It's 1994, and this young man served as an expedition naturalist for a documentary series. Was that your first foray into like film and television?
It was in 1994 with the renowned oceanographer Dr. Robert Ballard and his Jason project. He brought this young 23-year-old, 24-year-old budding explorer aboard to be their expedition naturalist. And that's where I got my taste for television and documentaries. And that's when I decided that that's what I wanted to do.
Mm. But before that, 1984, you were in Belize. I've been in the backcountry there on the border and seen the El Data Pyramid and the lush green vegetation there. How important is it for us to make sure that, as they become popular tourist destinations, that we preserve these areas of natural?
It's incredibly important. There's a huge value in visiting wild places and bringing your family. My current series with the Miccosukee Tribe of Indians of Florida Wildlife Nation, Expedition Florida, it's all about that, exploring Florida. And whether you're, visiting a Mayan ruin in Guatemala, or you're going to Chichen Itza or Tikal, I've worked in those places as a guide in another life. I spent a lot of my life in Belize, and I still work with friends in Belize on conservation issues. But it's to do that in a way that is sustainable and kind, so you are taking great memories, but you're not leaving behind disturbance to that wild space. But I think it's very important because when you have people come visit and fall in love with your natural treasures, whether it's in the Amazon or whether it's in the Everglades with the Miccosukee, you take those memories and you make a friend and you develop a sense of empathy and stewardship for that wild place. You're more apt to protect and save that place because you have a connection to it.
Um, there's a very touchy subject, and I don't know how to approach it. But in 2007, you were part of a project, and you actually suffered an injury. I mean, people think that conservation, there's some danger behind this. It's not just being out there because you're really dealing with wild animals.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I, I'm deathly allergic to bees, and I just recently was stung by bees doing work on invasive python extirpation, trying to deal with these pythons that are an awful problem in the Everglades. The Miccosukee Indians are really focused on saving the Everglades, and we're working with these invasive pythons, which have eaten up 90% of the mammals there. And I think you're referring to something that happened in Cambodia when I was working with Anderson Cooper on a television documentary series I had created for CNN called Planet in Peril, and we were hosting it. And I was really roughed up by an elephant and almost lost my arm. Thankfully, I recovered from that injury, but things have happened. I've been in me and my film crew, and I was once in a catastrophic plane situation in Alaska where we had to ditch our plane out of the skies because we lost our engine. And I had my 3-year-old daughter sitting in my lap at the time. We've been in coup d'etats. I've been very, very ill. I've been injured. I've been when I was a grad student, I was bitten by a coral snake and nearly died. And now I'm deathly allergic to bees, and I have to be careful about that. And more than once, we've had 3 times, while not trying to, we've been impacted by bees. So, yeah, there is always a risk, but you try to make a calculated risk. And I have always been someone who is not risk averse. I love the challenge and the thrill of being in the field and pushing myself and driving myself, and that's just part of my soul, and I accept that and understand that.
This is I like watching these videos now. There's still species of animals thought to be extinct that have been rediscovered in recent years. do you think is because of man's um, technology, or are we still penetrating unknown lands?
I think it's all of that. Um, it's amazing. We know we've only identified, uh, we probably identified less than 10% of what is in our oceans of life. We discover 200 new ocean species every year. A scientist recently discovered a new species in the rainforest where I worked as a kid or a young man in Belize. And I was very honored that they actually named that species after me, that snail species. Although my wife said they named a slow snail after you. I don't know if that's something you want to celebrate, but I celebrate it. I have the scientific paper in my cabinet of curiosities in the house. And it's Corwinii is the name of that snail. And we discover places because we have exploited things to the point where we find the needle in the proverbial haystack. But we also discover things because there is things to be discovered. We don't know everything about everything that's wild. And that's what's so exciting. We discover new things in Florida. And that really is the spirit of our Florida series on ABC, Wildlife Nation Expedition Florida, is that it begins, every episode is with the Miccosukee tribe of Indians in the Everglades, their home as they fight to save it. And then that is the engine that takes us to other incredible stories in Florida. We found a new discovery with a turtle that we've known about for hundreds and hundreds of years. With this team of scientists in the Suwannee Santa Fe River ecosystem in Florida, we discovered a new type of alligator snapping turtle with amazing scientific characteristics that I can't talk about because it's about to be published in a scientific paper. But
Ooh.
yeah, it's incredible today that there's still a lot of amazing science and discovery to be had. The challenge is to discover it before we lose it.
Wow. I mean, with that said, I mean, Florida is constantly being developed, and these Everglades are being encroached. And, it's even where my parents live in Kissimmee, it was once like a bird sanctuary. So every morning you can still see like cranes and beautiful wildlife on the front lawn of your house. So it's how important is it to like still preserve even in Florida?
Well, Florida is arguably one of the most important wild spectacles in North America. There are species in Florida found nowhere else in the world. Florida is the only place where we have coral reefs in North America. Coral reefs are home or have a connection to 70% of all our ocean's fish species. Tragically, in Florida, we only have about 4% of our coral reefs remaining. So the red cockaded woodpecker, which only lives in Florida, the Florida scrub jay, which only lives in Florida, the Florida sparrow, which only lives in Florida, the other amazing, the Suwannee river cooter, the Suwannee alligator snapping turtle, Florida manatees, the American crocodile. All of these creatures are uniquely Floridian, and all of them, although they're very different, are on the verge of disappearing. With that said, we have an incredible opportunity because it's not too late. That what gives me hope is there is this amazing diaspora of conservationists from federal government like the Fish and Wildlife Service to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, universities like the University of Florida, you have folks like the Archibald Biological Station, working with people, the first peoples of Florida, like the Miccosukee tribe of Indians, to ensure that wild Florida is there for the next generation. It's still possible, and that's why we do this TV series on ABC.